Hello, dear students. This is the class for April the 22nd, Lingua e Letterature Comparate 2. Okay. So on Monday, we started the second book, and I told you that it was a little different from what we were used to doing with the first book, with pragmatics. Okay. And I showed you a little bit how the book works. I said that it's more kind of a bottom-top approach because it starts from lots of practice to guide you through the theory. And so we were looking at Unit 1. We're not going to do all the units. You're going to see that I'm going to skip a couple of units for those of you who have the book. If you don't have the book, that's perfectly fine. Just follow the slides, because that's what I'm going to ask you anyway. So for Unit 1, we talked about semantics, okay? There was an introduction, and so the first definition that it gives you is that semantics is the study of meaning. We did pragmatics, that is the study of meaning and context. This is the semantics, is the study of meaning in language. And through some exercises, the excerpt from Lewis Carroll, we got to the comment to the point of saying that the word mean has several meanings. One of this is the sentence meaning, or the word meaning. That is what the words mean per se. And then speaker meaning is what the speaker means with these words, because a word can have a different meaning depending on the meaning that the speaker wants to give to them. And then we compared two texts, one about the bus stop text, and the other one was the husband and wife text. And we said that number one, not always meaningfulness means informativeness. This means that we can create a perfectly correct sentence in English that is meaningful from a grammatical point of view, but there are some sentences that do not give us further information, new information. And plus, the same sentence used by different speakers can have different meanings. Okay, we looked at exactly the same sentences at the bus stop and the husband and wife conversation, and we said they had totally different meanings. Now, let's continue with the unit about semantics. Look at the following sentences and state whether they are intended to be taken literally or not. A tired traveler says, "This suitcase is killing me." Or an assistant in a shop, "We regularly do the impossible. Miracles take a little long." Or during a business meeting, "It's a dog-eat-dog situation." Or during a heated argument, somebody says, "Don't bite my head off." Or 5, hungry person at a dinner table, "I could eat a horse." In all these situations, we can obviously say that the meaning should not be taken literally. Okay? They are all metaphors. Let's say, and we are all correct, because that's what the feedback, or at least that's what the feedback says. All the answers were no. Practice number 2. Can two people hold an ordinary conversation without knowing the meanings of the words they are using? Is it reasonable to say, if I use such English words as table and chair in the normal way in my conversation, communicating the usual messages that one does with these and other words, that I know the meanings of the words table and chair? If one knows the meaning of a word, is one therefore necessarily able to produce a clear and precise definition of its meaning? Conversely, if several speakers can agree on the correct definition of their word, do they know its meaning? Do you happen to know the meaning of the word ndoho in the Sar language of Chad, Central Africa? Would a sensible way to find out the meaning of ndoho be to ask a speaker of Sar, assuming you could find one? The word ndoho in Sar means 9, so it is not a particularly rare or technical word. Would any normal adult speaker of Sar be an appropriate person to approach to ask the meaning of the word? If a native speaker of Sar insists that ndoho means 9, or the number of digits on two hands less 1, or however he expresses it, while a distinguished European professor of semantics who does not speak Sar insists that ndoho means 10, or 10, or zen, however he translates it, who do you believe, the Sar speaker or the professor? Okay, let's look at the answers. So, can two people hold an ordinary conversation without knowing the meaning of the words? Clearly not. You cannot use a word if you don't know the meaning. Okay. Is it reasonable to say that if you use the words table and chair, that you know the meaning of these words? Yes, you do. It's reasonable. If one knows the meaning of a word, is one therefore necessarily able to produce a clear and precise definition of its meaning? No. I mean, it does require some skills anyway to give a precise definition of a word. How many times do we use a word and we do not know how to give to provide for a good definition? If several speakers agree on a definition, do they know its meaning? Yes, I would say so. And yes, of course, we could ask a Sar speaker, assuming we could find one, if the word means doho. We could ask what it means, and we would believe probably more in what a native speaker says, that it means 9, instead of a European speaker, European professor that says that Sar means 10, because the first person, the native speaker, has more knowledge, or at least he's more competent or credible that he knows the meaning of the word. So where was this exercise trying to guide us? It was leading towards a definition of the word theory. So a theory is a precisely specified framework of statements, constructed so that as large a number as possible of particular basic facts can either be seen to follow from it or describable in terms of it. Remember that question that we looked at about if several people agree on the definition of a word, does that mean that they know the meaning of it? Okay, so yes, the theory is a framework that guides us, that is agreed upon by a large number of people, and that is based on facts that either follow from the theory or that can be described by the theory. Give me a second because I remember that I skipped some practices last year, but I don't remember which ones they were. Okay, let's go through them and then probably I'll go back and comment on which ones are more precise or at least more useful for what you have to study. So this practice asks you to mark these sentences, these statements as true or false. Alive means the opposite of dead. By is the opposite from sell. By has the opposite meaning of sell. Caesar is and is not a meaningful sentence in English. Caesar is a prime number is nonsensical. And Caesar is a man is nonsensical. Both of John's parents are married to aunts of mine is, in a sense, contradictory, describing an impossible situation. Then it gets a little too complicated. Let's see it. Yeah. Okay, let's just look at the first 5. Alive means the opposite of dead. True. By is the opposite from sell. Okay. Caesar is and is not a meaningful sentence in English. Caesar is a prime number is nonsensical, of course. And Caesar is a man is not nonsensical. Let's see where it goes with this. Think carefully now about these true and falses. Okay? So proper names, like the English John or the German Hans or the French Jean, have a different kind of meaning from common nouns, like Englishman, German, or the French homme. Prepositions, like the English under, the German unter, or the French sous, have a different kind of meaning from both proper names and common names. The common nouns, sorry. Conjunctions, like English and, or the German und, or the French et, have yet a further kind of meaning from both proper noun names and common nouns and prepositions. Articles, like the English the German der, and the French le, have a different kind of meaning from proper names, common nouns, prepositions, and conjunctions. As you can see from the feedback, all these 4 questions are all true. Okay? So they have different meanings, a different kind of meaning, depending on whether they are proper names, common nouns, prepositions, or conjunctions. What does this mean? The fact that it's possible to translate any sentence from one language to another indicates that they have basic facts that are all, that there's some, sorry, I got distracted a second, I was listening to something else. So there are some basic facts that exist independently of the different languages. I can say Jean, I can say Giovanni, I can say all these different names in several languages. They all have a basic fact. Or more specifically and more understandably for you, I can say the word, I don't know, cat in all the languages of these worlds, but there is a basic fact that everybody knows of. Okay, sorry, I wanted to erase and practice because it was a little misleading. So the comment number 1 that we could say about this practice that we just looked at is that there are some basic facts that are said in different ways in different languages, but the basic facts remains the same. A cat is a cat in whatever language you name it. Plus, we can say that although although languages have evolved, the basic way in which we convey meanings has not changed. We still use nouns to indicate cats, or we use conjunctions when we want to express the concept of and or we use verbs to indicate a state, to indicate an action. So no matter how language evolves and how many languages the world has created, facts are still facts. Objects are still objects. We'll understand later on what this means for the purposes of this book. Okay? By now, just think that there is a theoretical aspect and a concrete, practical aspect in the world. As you can see, the text then concludes each unit by giving some exercises. You can skip that part. And give me a second. I think there's a PDF that should be. Okay, no, I didn't include it here, but what are the concepts that are basically within this unit? I think that I did it for the other units, but I didn't do it for this one. Okay, so we looked at the meaning of the word semantics and the difference between semantics and pragmatics. We said that each word has 2 meanings. The word meaning, so what the word means per se, and the speaker's meaning. What is the meaning that the speaker gives to a word? We said that something can be meaningful without being informative, without adding new information. And that, depending on the speaker, the same sentence can get a different meaning. Then we looked at the definition of theory, okay? That is a framework of statements that allows basic facts to either follow from it or be describable by it. We also said that no matter how many languages we have, there's always a basic fact that is at the root, at the basis of a word, so that it can be translated in all the languages of this world, but there is a concept or a basic fact that is at the basis of it. And give me a second, otherwise I'll lose you. Okay, sorry for that. And that summarizes Unit 1. Unit 2, sentences, utterances, and propositions. Propositions, P-R-O. This unit starts with a definition. An utterance is a stretch of talk by one person before and after which there is silence on the part of that person. In other words, what is an utterance from the point of view of semantics? It is the act of saying something, and before and after saying something, there is a pause, there's a silence. Okay? There is a pause or a silence, period. So let's decide if these can be utterances or not. Hello? Not much. Utterances may consist of a single word, a single phrase, or a single sentence. They may also consist of a sequence of sentences. It is not unusual to find utterances that consist of one or more grammatically incomplete sentence fragments. In short, there is no relation of correspondence between utterances and sentences. And then 4 and 5. Whatever and shaloa whatever. Let's look at the answers. So, yes, number 1 is an utterance. Not much is an utterance as well. The whole chunk of number 3 is an utterance. Okay, it might be a little difficult to pronounce all at once, but yes, because there is then a silence before and a silence after. Number 4 and number 5 are not utterances because it is not from any specific language. And the same thing can be said for number 5. So what do we have to add to the definition of utterance? We have to say that, yes, it is any act of talking by one person that has to be meaningful in at least one language, that starts and is followed by a silence. Okay, so the act of talking in a meaningful language, a stretch of talk actually, that is followed and preceded by a silence. And that is an utterance. Second definition, the definition of sentence. A sentence can be defined as a string of words that are put together by the grammatical rules of a language. So a sentence it has to deal with grammar, okay? It is a string of words that makes sense from a grammatical point of view in a language. Let's see. Maybe some of these examples can give you a better idea of what sentence means. Do all authentic performances of Macbeth begin by using the same sentence? And do all authentic performances of Macbeth begin with the same utterance? If you got the meaning of the words sentence and utterance from the point of view of semantics, you will definitely say that yes, all authentic performances of Macbeth begin with the same sentence, but no, they do not start with the same utterance. Okay? Because utterance is the individual act of saying a stretch of words, preceded and followed by a silence. But the sentence is always the same. It's a group of words that make sense from a grammatical perspective. And so, in other words, does it make sense to talk of the time and place of a sentence? And number 4, does it make sense to talk about the time and place of an utterance? Okay, number 3, no, we cannot talk of the time and place of a sentence because we said that sentence is just a chunk of words that make sense from a grammatical point of view. But yes, we can talk of the time and place of an utterance, of the act of saying something. Okay? And so point 5 and 6, can one talk of a loud sentence? And can one talk of a slow utterance? If you got the meaning of sentence and utterance, this one should be an easy one for you. No, we cannot talk of a loud sentence, because we don't say it, but we can talk of a slow utterance. How we say something. We say it slowly. And say it slowly. Okay. Okay. And then you have your feedback over here to double check. So let's have a look at the comment. Strictly, a book such as this contains no utterances, since books don't talk. Or sentences, because sentences are abstract ideals. Okay? But more interestingly, you have to know that in semantics, what is written between single quotation marks is an utterance, and anything that is italicized is a sentence. Let me see if I gave you an example. I did. Okay. If I want to, in semantics, if I want to indicate a sentence, I would write it in italics like this. The steeples have been struck by lightning. But if I write it like this, within single quotation marks, the steeples have been struck by lightning in quotation marks, this means that I want to represent an utterance. So this exercise over here, pretty simple. It asks you to indicate whether these statements are utterances or sentences. The train now arriving at platform 1 is the 11:15 from King's Cross. And B, the pelican ignores the linguist. Obviously, case A is an utterance, and B, which is in italics, is a sentence. And now, oops, I don't want to give away the feedback. Given our conventions, say what is wrong with the following. John announced Mary's here. Is this in his squeakiest voice? And Mary thought how nice John was. So what is wrong here? In this case, John announced Mary's here in his squeakiest voice. This should be with double quotations. And in this case, Mary thought how nice John was is combining two things because there's both italics and the quotation marks. So we cannot understand whether it's an utterance or a sentence. And then something new that we haven't seen so far, how I mark rules. Same thing as definitions, I just put them in red. You have to remember that if you change the words that are used or the order in which they are used, they make a different sentence. Okay? Because we said that sentences are a stretch of words that follow grammatical rules. And so if I change the order of the words or something in the words, I'm making up different sentences. So if I say, example in yellow, Helen rolled up the carpet, or Helen rolled the carpet up, I'm saying two different sentences. But sincerity might frighten the boy, or sincerity might frighten the boy, are exactly the same sentences. And I want to give you a further definition of sentence in semantics. Okay, so far we just said that it's a grammatically complete string of words that expresses a complete thought. Okay, we said that a sentence follows some specific rules. Remember that a sentence always has to have a verb in it. If it does not have a verb, it is not a sentence. So, I would like a cup of coffee is a sentence. But coffee please is not considered a sentence for semantics. As well as in the kitchen is not a sentence. But please put it in the kitchen is. So look at this practice over here. Which of the following utterances can be sentences and which ones cannot? Number 1, John. Number 2, who is there? Number 3, mine. Number 4, it's mine. And number 5, where shall I? So, if we want to pick out all the ones that can be sentences, we can just say that number 2, who is there, and number 4, it's mine, are full sentences. So you could indicate them with an S. And so, last practice for today, I'm going to give you some sample conversations. In each case, the answer is not, or the answer that is a second utterance, is not a token of a sentence. And so, try to write out the full sentence. So, Magnus, when did Goethe die? Fred, in 1832. Hostess, would you like tea or coffee? And the guest says, coffee, please. And number 3, A, who won the Battle of Waterloo? And B says, Wellington. So let's look at the answers, probable answers. You could say, for instance, for number 1, Goethe died in 1832. Or for the second one, I would like some coffee, please. Sure. Or Napoleon won the Battle of Waterloo. Sorry, yeah, of course, Wellington, yes. Okay, no, I don't want to get into proposition. No. Okay, so what did we look at today? So we looked at the concept of theory, okay, that is based on facts. Then we said that the fact that it's possible to translate any sentence into another language means that there are some basic facts that they share, that they have in common. And then we started Unit 2, that is about the difference between sentences, utterances, and propositions. We said that utterances are any stretch of talk that has a silence before and after it. Okay? It is an act of saying something. And it is indicated within single quotation marks in semantics. Then we said that sentences are a string of words that are put together by grammatical rules. And a sentence necessarily has to have a verb. We said about sentences that even if we change the order of one single word, or we change one single word within a sentence, it makes up a different sentence. Okay? And we said that sentences are indicated within are indicated with italics, corsivo. Okay, and then during our next class, we'll get into propositions. Okay, so far we looked at sentences and utterances. I will stop here with the theoretical part of the class because I could expect some questions, okay? If there's anything that is confusing for you, it's okay, it's perfectly fine. Send me a message, and I'll be glad to help you. Okay? Now, okay, sorry, give me a second. So today's song, 4 or 5 seconds. Let me make it a little bigger. I think I've had enough. I might get a little drunk. I say what's on my mind. I might do a little time. 'Cause all of my kindness is taken for weakness. Now I'm 4 or 5 seconds from wilding, and we got 3 more days till Friday. I'm just trying to make it back home by Monday morning. I swear I wish somebody would tell me. Oh, that's all I want. Woke up an optimist, sun was shining, I'm positive. Then I heard you was talking trash. Hold me up, I'm about to spaz. Yeah, I'm 4 or 5 seconds from wilding, and we got 3 more days till Friday. I'm just trying to make it back home by Monday morning. I swear I wish somebody would tell me. That's all I want. And I know that you're up tonight, thinking how could I be so selfish? But you called about 1,000 times, wondering where I've been. Now I know that you're up tonight, thinking how could I be so reckless? But I just can't apologize. I hope you can understand. If I go to jail tonight, promise you'll pay my bail. See, they want to buy my pride, but that just ain't up for sale. See, all of my kindness is taken for weakness. Now I'm 4 or 5 seconds from Wanden, and we got 3 more days till Friday. I'm just trying to make it back home by Monday morning. I swear I wish somebody would tell me, oh, that's all I want. And then it repeats. Okay, let me give you the link. Yeah, and just in case if you don't remember the Battle of Waterloo, okay, you can go here, read a little bit about it. Again, Wikipedia is not a source to use for your degree, for your thesis, but it works. And here you go. Let me put it over here. Let me know if you have any comments, first impressions, and I'm glad to help. We'll put the link over here. Okay. Take care. Stay healthy and safe, and see you next week. Thank you very much. Bye.